And welcome everybody to Boss Battle Round 7. I'm your host, Goron1988, and I am here with Cat17. Yep, pleased to be with you, Cat. So, the battle that we've got ahead tonight is Morpher versus Dark Morpher. So, what we know of the boss Morpher? Sorry, I said Morpher, I meant Baronade. It's a problem in my head, okay? I I actually do, like, in my head sometimes, I think Baronade but say Morpher. So to clarify, Baronade versus Dark Baronade, okay? I'm not being judged, right?
Yes.
I'm happy my webcam isn't on for this. But in the left corner, we have Baronade. Statistics, health B, power D, intelligence F, mobility D, special abilities, electric stun A, jellyfish B, flail B. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that Baronade has a good health and some good special abilities, to be honest with you. So could be a good contender here. Anything you want to say about Baronade, Cat?
Well, Baronade has like some of the strongest techniques and
Hmm.
abilities over all the possible fighters, but and I leave it just as but for now.
But yes, but um, okay, Dark Baronade. The so most of the stats on Dark Baronade will just be the same as Baronade, if not all the stats. That's due to Dark Baronade's doppelganger ability. We'll be copying Baronade exactly in this one. And Darkness Affinity B. So you know, Dark Baronade will have some use. We'll be able to use the darkness somewhat, but we'll see if that comes into play in this battle. What strengths do you think Dark Baronade has in this battle, Cat?
Well, I would have been able to say much more for just having the doppelganger abilities themselves, but it's Baronade now, so it's Baronade.
Basically, Baronade versus Baronade, then. Well, let's just talk now about the situation in which we're putting ourselves at hand. The room itself does matter effectively. So the room that I had discussed in this is that basically I'm going to assume that Dark Baronade is smart enough to know that Baronade gets enough of their energy from Jabu Jabu. So my thoughts were that Dark Baronade would just teleport into Jabu Jabu effectively, doing the same thing as Baronade. Do we have an issue with that?
Uh, in yes and no.
Okay. Well, pray do tell.
Well, the concept of these fights have always been that
Mm,
the like places do meld, and for
okay.
in particular stats that the fighters have, the
Mm,
situation needs to be that to make anything work, and as well not work.
yeah. Okay, then just changing that because logically we've said that the two arenas would be melded together. Dark Goron, Dark Baronade would then have to create some form of room similar to Jabu Jabu in that instance, and then that part of the room would meld with the Jabu Jabu part of the room specifically. Would be
Yes.
the logical step. So we'll do it that way. It's honestly a lot to do with this room, may affect a lot of this battle coming forward, so we're gonna have to, and this is why I have asked you, Kat, what's best. as I always do, because I might mess up with this, anybody might mess up with this, so we do need to take it step by step. Although, honestly, yeah, I think we've just got to deliberate on a conclusion. I think we kind of talked about this a bit beforehand, so I don't think much discussion in private needs to happen. But I will just do things as normal. Um, yeah. So, and again, if you want to type anything else in our decision sort of point, Cat, to say any specifics on that, then it's fine by me.
I do agree on that. We'll just have it explained more after the fact.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to think more for how we're sort of doing it, sort of step by step, because I've got away, but I'll say more then, just in case. But uh, like I believe there are a few ways this battle could go, but I'm just saying this to you just as one possible scenario.
Yeah,
Scenario.
yeah, like, I fully agree, and that like the thing which you just typed is the biggest issue in this
Yeah.
situation. Well, a second biggest actually.
Yeah.
But
Second biggest, actually. So, yeah, here we are. So, again, in the left corner, we have Baronade. In the right corner, we have Dark Baronade. The two worlds mesh together, and Baronade feels something off from within Jabu Jabu. That there's some hostile presence somewhere nearby, and Dark Baronade, of course, knows teleporting in, changing into Baronade, that this Baronade is, in essence, an enemy, of course. So that's basically the storyline behind it. I would say, would it be okay me being Baronade, you being Dark Baronade, Cat?
yep.
Yep. And I'd say as well, in all essence, both worlds are, joining. Let's say Dark Baronade gets the first move in this one, so you go straight ahead.
Well, here comes I'm gonna just straight go for the big issue in this fight.
Yeah,
The big issue in this fight is the lack of intelligence of the fighters.
yeah,
So both fighters are gonna, in essence, be like blue magic players in Magic that just has counter spells in their deck.
yes, exactly,
They respond to things, but they don't know what to do. Otherwise, they can't do much since there is
exactly, yeah,
no thought process going in.
yes. So,
But because this situation just suddenly developed, it would be assumed that there would be some movement in Baronade.
mm,
And how would Baronade respond to movement
mm,
is with an electric beam.
yeah. So, at this point, I'm gonna wait until the electric beam hits. So is it okay to just say we move to that moment then, Cat? Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. That electric beam is then tanked by Baronade. By the jellyfish on Baronade, because Baronade is in a defensive position at the moment. And Baronade then throws an electric beam towards Dark Baronade.
And Dark Baronade is just gonna tank that electric shock with its jellyfish.
And what's Dark Baronade going to do now?
There was something happening in a direction. Electric beam to that direction.
Oh no! Well, Baronade's gonna tank that and then throw another electric beam towards Dark Baronade.
And this would go on for a very, very long time.
As they say, ad infinitum, effectively, correct?
Effectively, yes.
So, we're gonna discuss the end of it. Effectively, it's a draw. Just a straight draw, basically. There is technically a way Dark Baronade wins this, but we're not counting that as a win effectively. Because it's the same as I'll spoil it and then we'll discuss it, but it's the same as calling for the heat death of the universe. Effectively, it's like eventually Dark Baronade can win, but that's a very slow process. But yeah, so yeah, just talking about it. I mean, the main thing here, the two things that were really influencing them, the one that we both discussed is that intelligence F stat. Effectively means that they just couldn't. Neither of them could do independent action that would make one any different from the other. Effectively. So that's the second thing. But what's the first most important thing, Kat?
Uh, the first most important issue was the intelligence stat,
Okay.
and the second biggest issue in this fight is that both combatants pretty much rely on electric abilities, which they are immune to begin with
Yeah.
because of the electric abilities.
Yeah. There is another thing to put into play with regards to intelligence as well. Baronade, theoretically, if that intelligence stat was a C or a B, it's still a draw technically, but it's a draw in which one of them would beat the other 50% of the time. But because of the low intelligence stat, even though I think Baronade could possibly detach itself from Jabu to Jabu, reattach itself, and fight Dark Baronade, that just wasn't going to happen. Baronade, it's not that Baronade didn't have the ability to do so. I think Baronade could. I just don't think Baronade has the brain cells to do so, quite literally. You know.
I do agree. Like Baronade is just a yes, Baronade is just a flower, a parasitic flower.
But yeah.
So even if the flower could attach itself from the soil, it would not ever do so.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and again, effectively, whilst there are some differences with regards to, I mean, that darkness affinity and the way that Dark Baronade operates can be different in the sense of, Dark Baronade being dark anything, effectively. That intelligence F stat, just going back to Baronade, but the intelligence F stat meant that there's no way to be evil when you can't even be. Like, it's the same issue we had with another fight, which I was about to say, but I don't know if you'll do these out of order, so that's why I'm not going to say. But like, this is the problem with low intelligence, Dark, Dark Goron versus Dark Link, sorry, versus any of the combatants here. If it's low intelligence, what can you do differently? Absolutely nothing. But yeah, you go.
Yeah, the intelligence that is again just proving itself to be the most important stat of them all.
Yeah, it really is. It really is because whilst we do a lot of things by how we remember the boss battles to be, there have been situations where, with high intelligence, we can actually say that those characters will be able to do something that isn't naturally within their moveset. And those things have just come out trumps because, those have actually been counters. So, sadly, with low intelligence, neither of them knew how to counter one another. But, yeah. There is one thing I did want to say that I have kind of spoiled, but because I've spoiled it, do you want to go on about the way that Dark Baronade effectively wins this one?
There,
Eventually.
there is two ways. One is a tad faster, and the one is the more likely to happen the most of the times, and very slow one.
Yep.
Which one would you like me to explain first?
Let's go in progressing order of slowness. So the fastest first and then the slowest.
Okay, so the faster version. So the fight would start and go on for a while, as explained like previously. So beam, 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 nothing happens. But maybe eventually one of the beams just happens to miss for whatever reason, and then the other Baronade could respawn with a jellyfish to the location where the missed beam happened to hit,
Mm,
which would result the other Baronade sending jellyfish to that direction as well.
mm,
Eventually, jellyfish just bobbing all over the place. Some might hit and detach one of the Baronades.
mm. Yeah.
And the big thing is, if the real Baronade gets down, it will eventually die if it cannot get up. While the Shadow one could keep down and spinning forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Which also goes into the long method. If these jellyfish are never sent out, the end result would be electric beams until Jabu Jabu dies.
Yeah, exactly. And you said this before, so I know it's a spoiler, but I just want to copy you here. Jabu is a very healthy boy.
So we actually did discuss it a bit before
Mhm.
the stream. I cannot recall, has Jabu's fate ever been mentioned in
Yeah.
all the timelines? But if we go with the expectation that Jabu would just live for as long as Jabu Jabu would live, it would be a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Well, again, that as far as I know, is there anything else you want to say, Kat, before we wrap this up? Because I think we've discussed this battle quite well.
Sorry about all the coughing, but um, I do have to just say that I were looking forward to um, all the clone matches at the
Mm,
beginning, but
yeah.
now that the series has go on, I'm have started to come to the weaknesses of the fact way too much.
I mean, we've done quite a few of these. I think, honestly, in all fairness, I don't think it's Dark Link that's the problem, in my
No,
opinion.
it's not. It's not. But
Mm,
the weaknesses of the opponent reflecting back to the dark
exactly.
is the issue.
And I'm not going to spoil it too much, so I'm going to leave it to other people to decide what we're talking about. But I personally believe the bosses that we have personally seen Darklink mirror so far, they've been a bit on the weak side. Basically, Baronade has been on the weak side, at the very least intelligence-wise, and it's nice to see Darklink face off against a high intelligence opponent, in my opinion.
Yep.
Well, yeah, if that's it, we're going to go back to this, and yeah. So that's the discussion of Dark Baronade versus Baronade. Boss Battle Round 7. There's only 38 left to go. Um, Still no sign of one specific boss, but I will try not to spoil it too much.
Yes, you have cursed the fact too much, so it's not gonna
It's
happen.
not gonna happen for like another 5 rounds, because the thing is that I've counted it, and this boss now has like twice the opportunity than another boss of actually arriving, and that other boss is just arriving all the time. But yeah. So I'm gonna close this section for now. So I'm gonna say goodbye on here. I might stay a little bit technically. So yeah, goodbye for me. That's all I have to say left on boss battle wise. And Kat, anything else you want to say?
Do you hear the voices too?